All right, so today, some stuff on supply management policies. A little bit dry, but at least it's short. So develop tools and processes to measure, report, and improve compliance with supply management policies and regulations. That's our task. First thing they go into is audits. So audits range from the maintenance of records through to the evaluation of functional and process efficiency. So there are things called peer audits. We have an internal audit organization. We don't do peer audits, and we usually don't do self audits, but those are other types of audits you can do also. And then you can also do audits from outside groups. So a purchasing audit looks at the environment, objectives, strategies, and activities of the group. If purchasing is found to be non-compliant with the procedure, a management review and process improvement plan will be necessary. Or quality would call it an 8-step, I think, or something like that. Audits ensure methods are in place to measure performance and identify areas needing improvement. That's why we have audits. So validation implies that a process is correct or compliant with a set of standards. So you need to validate the processes. Validation processes are established to ensure that the standards and rules are appropriate and comply with requirements. Then you've got reporting requirements, management reporting system. This is a requirement of SOX. Ensures measurements and processes are tracked on a regular basis for compliance and information accuracy. And then something called remediation. If a process is deficient or if a process deficiency is found through an audit, a process improvement plan should be established to correct the defect. This process improvement plan, or correcting the defect, is called remediation. It's used to correct any non-compliance. Training, should get trained regularly on procedures. And customers should also be informed of changes that affect them or suppliers. Compliance metrics. Primary metric is the level of adoption over a period, which I'm not really sure how you would measure that, but in order to achieve the metric, a defined implementation process is established. Well, yeah, okay. In other words, they're not going to tell us. Organizational policies plan to guide decisions and achieve rational outcomes, which is why we have policies and procedures. So policies, procedures, and work instructions. So the highest level is the policy that's usually set by the top level of the corporation and approved by the CEO. And then the next level down is procedures. They explain how to accomplish a task. So a policy is just guidance. This in general is how I want you to do it. The procedure then is the next step down that explains in much more detail on how to accomplish the tasks. They're usually approved by a VP. And the procedure is usually an auditable document. When outside firms like ISO come in and audit us, they're checking to see if we're following our procedures as they're written. Work instructions, on the other hand, are based on procedures, so that's the next step down, but they're more basic. It's a step-by-step process on how to operate the software or something like that. That's a work instruction. Those are usually not auditable. Auditors don't look at work instructions. What they'll look at is procedures and policies, if they've got any of those. So policies and procedures are usually disseminated through formal written documents, and regulatory policies and mandates limit the discretion of the company. So often we'll get regulatory policies and mandates from the EPA or the Department of Transportation, which limits our discretion. ES&G, which stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance. This is the latest buzzword. Many companies establish policies about purchasing from a diverse supply base. We don't, because we are not a consumer-based product industry. If you're a consumer-based product or service industry, you would best pay attention to this, because guys like Starbucks, they'll quit buying your coffee. So sustainability, social responsibility, and ethics can all be grouped under the ES&G framework. And sustainability means meeting current needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So the baby boomers are not using up all of the resources. In addition to natural resources, society also needs social and economic resources. And sustainability has come to include social responsibility or corporate social responsibility, which is an acronym called CSR, which is, good governance and following the law and not using slave labor and that type of thing. Embedded in most definitions of sustainability, there are also aspects of social equity and economic development. And I think we've seen this a time or two, the ISM principles of sustainability and social responsibility. There's 11 of them. It's stuff your mother would want you to do. All right, social responsibility or corporate social responsibility is a self-regulating business model that helps the company be socially accountable to everybody. And sustainability and social responsibility have emerged as a component of corporate ethics in response to perceived public discontent over long-term damage caused by the focus on short-term profits. Like I say, if you're in a consumer products or consumer service industry where you're selling directly to the consumer, you must pay close attention to this stuff. And you'll see a lot of it. Our advertising will say that we're do this, that, and the other thing for sustainability. Ethical supply management policies. Most companies develop policies for how they want business to be conducted by their employees. For instance, what are acceptable gifts by suppliers? This is all found in our code of conduct. And ISM also has a similar code called their Principles of Standards of Ethical Supply Management. But our code of conduct has a whole website, and we get tested on this like once every 2 years or so. Stakeholder feedback. It's imperative to solicit stakeholder feedback on supply management policies and regulations. Periodic discussions with stakeholders of the following should take place: expectations, roles, goals. And surveys, interviews, and business meetings can be used to collect this type of information. All right. The development, implementation, and validation of corrective action from non-performance or non-compliance to performance measures is known as what? Development, implementation, and validation of corrective action. Wow, that's kind of a backwards way of saying it. So what's another word for corrective actions? It's not team input, and it's not critical to quality. So I think what they're driving at is remediation. D, it is. The name of the process improvement plan to correct any non-compliance. Validation, on the other hand, is checking to see that you meet standards. All right, one more here. Supply management organizations must develop tools and processes to audit compliance. The most important reason for such processes and tools is to what? I think you can throw out two of these pretty quickly too. So A is pretty ridiculous. And I think C is you could throw out too. Which leaves us with ensure standardization of policies or ensure results of actions and decisions. Something tells me they're driving at D. Let's see. D it is. All right, there's 8 questions out there. Just guys go ahead and jump on them. And we'll go over answers at 3:50. Or if you get done early, just raise your hand. Oh, man, you guys are quick. Oh, Marcus, you done or not? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Number one is Delta. Supply manager saying if we only had the tools to give us the data, we could do a better job. Option A is not correct because supply manager is not addressing compliance. Two is Alpha. Supply-based consolidation may work against the inclusion of their suppliers. Three is Bravo. Inventory investment has exceeded its limit by 100%. Company wants to be below 20%, at or below 20%. Four is Alpha. While records will be checked during the audit process as needed to test accuracy and compliance to the processes, they are not normally checked in advance. Five is also Alpha. The primary purpose of metrics is to measure the organization's progress to meeting its objectives. Six is also Alpha. A procedure is a department level document that details out how to accomplish a task, as opposed to a policy, which is a corporate level document. And he was concerned about the department. Seven is Bravo. Checking in with the stakeholders using surveys and interviews. I want to know what their goals, roles, and expectations are. And eight is Charlie. Because question STEM is looking for an exception in stakeholder goals and expectations is only indirectly a part of ES&G. Any questions? All right. We'll do another section tomorrow. See you guys.